Hello, Andrew. We're going to take a look at your 5 characteristics posting, give a few observations, a little bit of feedback, talk to you about what we see. So let's go ahead and take a look here, do a little screen sharing, and we will jump right into it. Okay, so the first thing I do with these is to do an overview. I kind of look at the posting, see what you've got up there. Is it all organized? Are all of the elements that we're asking for posted? Things like that. The general compositions, the exposures, are any of them too light and too dark? Are you having any issues with that? That kind of thing. So as I start looking at them, it looks like at the top you have the temperature as we're moving through. Then we have something called fill. I'm going to guess, since you're calling it fill, that means that you're considering that the intensity part. We'll talk about that in a moment. And then we're over here with position, which I'm going to also guess that is your posting meaning for direction. And then that's all I see here. So you have 3 out of the 5 up there. And that's fine. Well, it's not fine. I mean, clearly you know that we wanted all 5, but it's fine because you can resubmit. You'll get an evaluation based on the incomplete posting, of course, but because you've posted, that's a good job, because now you have the ability to resubmit. So you'll receive a grade based on the incomplete work, and you'll be sort of dissatisfied because it was incomplete, but you'll have every opportunity to resubmit it in the complete form and be able to raise that grade up. So I'm all about giving you every opportunity to succeed, because that's what this is about. It's about being able to learn. It just isn't about giving you a test and see if you pass, fail, and if you had trouble in the beginning, then oh well. No, I'm not about that. So we'll get you situated there. The second is, and I was reading some of your peers saying, yes, we had the format organized in a particular way, so it's easy for you to understand. Also, they are in a lot of ways organized in the order in which you address them. Direction is always going to be the first one that you address when you create a lighting solution. Direction deals with the key light, and direction is going to be the first thing you consider. Where's the key light position in relationship to you and the subject? Then comes intensity. Do you need more light than simply the one key light? Then you move into balancing the color. Do you need to? Do you need to alter it? You start to consider the variations from light to dark. And finally, you would finesse and modify the hardness of the shadows. There are, of course, other things in between there, but we use that not just because it creates a tidy acronym, DITCH, D-I-T-C-H, but also because that indicates the order in which you are most likely to address those things. So it's not just a random order that we want you to present them in. We want you to put them in that order because that's the order in which the photographer would naturally address those things. So anyway, enough of that. Let's go ahead and jump into looking at the images themselves. The first thing that I notice is you're using the picture frame. In other words, the entire frame of the viewfinder very, very well. You're coming right in and looking at the entire frame. You're using every inch of it. We'll move myself out of the way here. You're using every bit of it, from this edge to that edge to the top to the bottom. Believe it or not, that is something that a lot of photographers struggle with at first. They tend to sort of lump things in the middle. They sort of tend to be a little bit too, I guess, passive. They don't really get into it. You jumped right in and you're using the space very well. This isn't necessarily a composition class, but we do want you to use what you have learned principle-wise, methodology-wise in the two-dimensional design classes, the observational drawing classes, all of the principles of organization and design and composition. You want to carry those over into your photography because that's what's going to make what's going to allow you to create dynamic compositions. And you're certainly doing that. You're filling the space, you're getting in there, and you're arranging the elements very well. Now, I mean, there's always room for improvement. I think you could probably address some of this negative space a little bit more deliberately. You've got some wonderful shadows going on here, but there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of rhythm going on in some of these. In other words, there doesn't seem to be any patterns, any deliberate rhythm that's happening in there. There doesn't always have to be. You can create dissonance, of course, but in a lot of cases, you'll want to establish some kind of rhythm, either symmetry or alternating rhythm, or a progressive rhythm, or a pattern that sort of starts to grow. Things like that would improve your compositions as you move forward. I do like that you're exploring the light. This is the temperature, and so you are exploring a variation of color, and that's very healthy, what you're doing there. And sometimes you're balancing it out very well too. It shows this temperature 6. Whoops, somehow I jumped forward there. Is temperature number 6. You found a good balance. It's in color, I can see, because the cork has a bit of color there. It's in color, but it seems very neutral, which in fact the scene, even shot in color, is pretty neutral. So you did a good job on the techniques there. Your compositions are well organized. You know, I think again you could probably establish a little bit more structure and rhythm with the compositions, but that's all in a good direction. The same thing's happening here with your intensity. You've identified them as fill, but we'd like to see headers there where it's identifying it as this is intensity, this is temperature, this is direction, and so on. So again, beautiful compositions here. You're really activating the space very well. You're using what's called shallow depth of field here, where you're coming in close, having a single element in focus and allowing the rest of it to go away. Here you're using shadows. This is what photographers do. You may not know it, but you're composing the way a professional photographer works, and that is using the shadows just as much as you use anything else. That's excellent. Very good. Very good. The same thing's starting to happen over here. You're even starting to use a little bit of camera flare here, which is just enough. It's not so much of a camera flare that it appears to be an error. You could have gone a little bit too much on it, but I think you kind of hit a good spot there. You want to be careful of that because a little bit goes a long way. But here the dissonance works. Here you've got this sort of lots of diagonals going and lots of angles going, and I think the dissonant works really well because the multiple angles are contributing to the energy. Whereas in some of the earlier ones that we were talking about, or saying you could be a little more deliberate with the negative space, that in those the angles didn't really kind of gel together. In something like this where you've got a lot more going on and they're sort of clustered together and maybe grouped, it tends to bind together a little bit better and look more intentional, like you're creating a dissonant rhythm. Dissonant rhythm means that you can identify a sort of a rhythm, but it's hard to see necessarily a pattern in that rhythm. It definitely feels rhythmic, but you can't really tell a pattern to it. Okay, so moving through, fill was really all about, again, establishing the key light first, then using a lower intensity light to fill in the shadow areas. I can see that you're doing it here because we have the key light on the one side, you have a small fill over here, it's not overpowering it. You're doing a good job. I mean, it's unfortunate you weren't able to complete the project. I'll be more than happy to listen and help you out if something was preventing you to do that, or if you have future problems, just let me know. We can try to get you squared away. But you did do the right thing to get what you had posted, so that you'll be able to have that second bite at the apple to repost. So here's your direction. The direction is pretty straightforward. It really is about getting that positioning correct and then moving it around and exploring. It's really kind of breaking the ice. It's kind of getting to know the bottles, kind of getting to know the set, kind of figuring out how to make interesting images using these shapes, that type of thing. And I think you're taking that that time pretty well. I can see the kinds of compositions that you're drawn to. You're drawn to these using diagonals and bringing things together and creating unified shapes out of many objects. It's just something that most people have a tendency to work with one style of composition or another. This seems to be the direction, at least from the images that you're posting, the direction that you prefer. So you're working in a really healthy way. I think it's obvious from the images that you're understanding the principles that we're working with. We just gonna get you squared away with the other two, which is the contrast and hardness elements. We want to be sure that you get those done. Now, the way you'll resubmit is I will issue you guys the grades. Once you get that, you will then go back, and if you shot the contrast and hardness and you just didn't have time to post it, fine. What you'll do is you'll gather these images that you've posted here already, and you'll gather the new ones that you collected and do a brand new posting with them. Don't add to this one. Just create a brand new posting with all of the images together. Title it exactly the same as you did this one, only add the word resubmission to it. Repost it, and then just maybe give me a note or let me know in class or something like that. Oh, hey, I resubmitted. Then I'll take a chance to look at it. The way it will work is how it's outlined in the syllabus. I'll take the first grade that you were issued, I'll reevaluate the submission, your resubmission. Then I take those two grades, average them together for your final grade. In most cases, your grade goes up a letter grade. Most cases. It will never go down. If you resubmit something that winds up being worse than the first one, I'll just say, hey, I'll ignore the resubmit and you can give it another try. So again, this isn't about putting you through the ringer or anything. I'm all about trying to help you out. So you'll never lower your grade by resubmitting. You always help your grade out. So, all right, good work here, and we'll see you in the studio.